The following is a video of my full mobility and active stretching routine for upper and lower body with a few balance exercises. A mobility routine is something that prepares your joints for exercise since our body positions throughout the day or night can create stiff or inflexible joints. And going into exercise without preparing them is like putting the pedal to the metal in your car right after you turn it on. If you can't do some of these, there may be others you can do that you can fold into your own routine. My name is Joey Gokenauer, and I'm a licensed dietitian and also hold a bachelor's and master's degree in kinesiology and exercise physiology. I worked as a personal trainer for 7 years while building my private practice in nutrition and exercise consulting and counseling. I've also been an athlete for my whole life in many different activities. Feel free to share the video with others who may benefit from some of these. Disclaimer: if you have an injury, please consult with a sports medicine physician and physical therapist. This should be considered general education, and ideas are not tailored for clinical one-on-one advice. If you feel pain, you should stop the exercise and never power through it, since you can make things worse by pushing through the pain. Remember to work out smarter and not harder. I'm completely cold and not warmed up for this video and want to take you through the process of what it takes for me to get ready to exercise safely, effectively, and intensely. I prefer a harder foam roller, but this is what was available when I recorded. I'm trying to feel and activate the deeper muscles an inch or two to the right or left of my spine that run up and down in a vertical column to wake up my back. Next, I'm alternating between contracting my lower back with a bridge and stretching my deep vertical columns of spinal stabilizer muscles by tilting my hips forward and down and back and up by bringing my knees closer to my chest one at a time. Then, I pull my knee across my body to briefly stretch my hip abductors and IT band. Most of what I'm showing in this video is called active stretching, which is where you hold a stretch briefly for about 3 seconds. Be sure to try and relax your lower back for this one. You are passively twisting your lower back. I sometimes hear and feel crepitus, pops, or cracks here on mine. Then I go back to the same stretch I just did for round 2 of it. Here I'm stretching femoral or upper leg rotation in a different direction on each leg. Adductors on my left, abductors on my right. Inner and outer hip muscles. I'm also briefly contracting and relaxing each while not moving, which helps to loosen them up. Once they've opened up a bit, I can go deeper into the stretch. Then I do the same on the other side. I also do a brief torso twist opposite to where my front foot is facing that I feel opens up my back a bit more that I only feel when in this leg position. When in the deeper stretch, I'm also hitting my hip flexor, the muscle that lifts your knee forward and tends to be tight from sitting. Last, I demonstrate an easier way to hit that same hip external rotator or piriformis stretch that's lying on your back in case you have trouble hitting the pigeon pose just demonstrated. Here I'm doing a combo clamshell and oblique contraction, which activates your hip abductors and lower back spine stabilizers. Then I do a full side plank, which is a position I'm working on myself for progression into some power moves and breakdance. It's very difficult to hold and not required. Here I'm relaxing my lower back and sitting into a deep squat, which is a position that is good for hip mobility, but not one I recommend everyone get into when lifting heavy loads. I'm also stretching my thoracic back by pushing my shoulders forward and making a rounded upper spine. Simultaneously, I'm stretching my wrists so that I can put weight on my hands without pain. There are a lot of bones in your wrist that need to be in the right positions for you to put weight on your wrists and your hands. Your muscles and tendons need to be properly stretched and in the right position. I've adopted the gymnast approach of stretching these on the ground, and it looks like I'm trying to rotate my arms, but I'm focusing on wrist and hand position, trying to stretch out any tight muscles in the hand to be able to keep it flat against the ground. Then last, I go into a bird dog pose to activate my lower back rotator stabilizer muscles, which are activated more with unilateral leg extension movements. This is also a stability and balance exercise. What I'm doing here is briefly contracting and mobilizing my left hip by alternating my hip abductors and adductors. The goal is for it to feel like it has full range of motion. I'm also starting to stretch my hamstrings or back of the leg and hip flexor, which is the muscle that lifts the knee forward and gets tight from sitting. Notice how I rock back and forth into each position. I'm finding what feels good for the muscle I'm focusing on. Once it relaxes, then I can ease into a split stretch attempt. Then I go back to a hip adductor or groin stretch, rotating my toe and heel to get different parts of my hip adductors. Then back to round 2 of the hamstring and hip flexor stretch. Both the front leg and back leg can be rotated in and out to find different parts of each muscle that need attention and relaxation. Remember, stretching is an active muscle relaxation process. I probably would feel more wrist pain here if I didn't warm up and stretch my wrists first. Then I go for a different type of hamstring and back muscle stretch in a wide or V leg position. It is mostly a hamstring stretch, but it can also work on what calisthenic athletes, gymnasts, and breakdancers describe as compression flexibility. You're compressing through your spine as well. When stretching through the middle, it is also called a pancake stretch, which I demonstrate at the end of this audio clip. I'm compressing forward on my spine, which is not a position you should be in when lifting heavy loads because weight is on your discs. It is primarily a mobility movement that I'm training specifically for working on an eventual press to handstand or having better form on my windmills and breakdance. My straight leg stretch is fairly inflexible compared to most people and in comparison to most of my other flexibility. I can't touch my toes with straight legs. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. A straight leg toe touch stretch has always been one of mine. After stretching my back, I contract it with another bridge. And this is a different bridge variant. This basically resets the muscle for me. I throw in one arm twist in the bridge and reach as another activity specific thing I'm working on in breakdance. Then I do a quad stretch, which is not how I'd formally teach others to stretch their quads if your knees are weaker. I'd recommend the standing up one for that. After contracting my back, then I stretch it and my hamstrings again, as I found that contract and stretch phases get you flexible fast and organically. Notice how much further I get on my pancake the second time. Then I go for another breakdance specific mobility movement into an abdominal and hip flexor stretch. See if you can push down your shoulder blades while keeping your chest up. Then the child pose and back to more wrist, hand, and finger stretches. For finger stretches, they can be pushed back and then contracted, or the joint lightly pulled to reset it. Here I'm doing a rear delt and middle back rhomboid stretch by pulling my arm across my body. Later in the video is more targeted upper body stretch routine, but I do a little bit here and there. I'm also doing a tricep and lat stretch when I pull my arm over my head and back. Be sure to push a bit with your elbow forward and adjust your elbow back to target the triceps versus the lat. For neck muscles, your neck can generally rotate side to side or be pulled forward or back. I'm gently pushing with my hand and arm weight while also pulling it in the same direction with my neck muscles to tilt it in the same direction. Hold until it feels good. Sometimes it doesn't get all the stretch you need on the first attempt, so you go to the other stretches and come back. Sometimes I need to take a deep breath before stretching my neck to get it to relax. Stretching your neck to the side and deep breaths both stimulate your vagus nerve, which is part of your parasympathetic or rest and digest nervous system. It is a deactivation nervous system strategy. Here, some brief spinal and core mobility via some dynamic stretching twists into a lateral lunge, which is a dynamic loaded adductor or groin stretch I've used to gain confidence in the position since a groin injury in skating years ago. Focus on keeping your knee going in the same direction as slightly turned out toe while loading into the hips rather than the knee. Then I do a brief quad stretch and alternate activating my hip abductors and adductors while standing to reset my hip socket. After that, I practice holding some static and dynamic balance positions for body proprioception, that is, understanding where your limbs are in space and time. This particular one translates into a camel to upright spin in ice skating. Shoulder active stretching and mobility. Think about your shoulder as the center of a clock. Start with the palm flat against the wall at 1 or 11 o'clock for lats and pec or armpit stretch. I'm applying gentle pressure into the wall while relaxing my lat and pec, the agonist muscles, and contracting my shoulder, which is the antagonist muscle. At 3 o'clock or 9, your palm is flat against the wall for a pec stretch, then side of the hand or index finger and thumb against the wall for a bicep stretch, then back of the hand for a shoulder or deltoid stretch, and a deeper part of the deltoid at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, or 7 o'clock if using the other shoulder. Sometimes I take my hand off the wall and shake my arm out to reset the shoulder socket if it feels out of place. I can do this consciously with my shoulder and pec muscles, but when you are learning how to do this, you might try a light weight ranging from a can of soup to up to 8 pounds, depending on your shoulder fitness level, and dangle your arm toward the ground with your torso bent over, letting it make very small circles and swing like a pendulum. Use an appropriate resistance band or bungee cord for your level. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together and back while elevating my chest, scapular retractions. In the same posture, I do an upright row. Keep chest up. Then scapular protraction, that is up and forward to stretch the trapezius muscles I just contracted. Pinky side of fist at 5 and 7 o'clock for rear delt activation, keeping chest up. Then palms face forward to hit a slightly different part. W's are a rear delt and external shoulder rotator warm-up. Keep your chest up. T's. Thumb should face behind you. Another rear delt and external rotator warm-up in a different position. Do a few pulses in each position. At 1 o'clock on my right arm, thumb faces back. At 7 o'clock on left arm, thumb faces forward. Then switch to 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock for the other side. External rotation of shoulder with arm at a right angle. Tether should be a little below chest level. This is a redundant stretch to the wall clock stretches for pecs and lats or armpit. I'm also stretching my pecs and internal shoulder rotators. Relax your chest and gently let hands be pulled back as you step forward and keep chest up. I'm sucking in a bit for the camera, but not necessary for the stretch. Breathing normally and deeply relaxes you more, which is required when stretching. Then I lean my torso angled into each shoulder with thumb forward for another shoulder stretch. I do a few reps of chest press to contract the muscles I just stretched. This is an internal rotator stretch and contraction. Stretch is passively and gently letting the resistance band pull my hand back in this right angle position. Contraction is resisting it and pulling it forward. The tether should be above you ideally, which I achieve by lunging in this frame, but you could also scritch the resistance band up higher. Next, another shoulder external rotator exercise with goal of activating it in mobility. Rotate your upper arm or humerus with your elbow pinned against hip, which I lean and tilt into for stability. Then I do an internal rotator exercise with the other arm. Sometimes you have to play with how far away you stand and how much slack you get with resistance bands. Then I do a rear delt contraction, keeping the back of my hand to the side. Go from hip to shoulder height. With thumb out and palm forward, I do small pulses to activate my deltoid or shoulder. Keep chest up and shoulder back or neutral. I do 3 different positions here because the resistance is too much or too little without resetting in each position. For position 2, bring elbow in front of shoulder to start. Then, as you raise, keep your hand directly over your elbow until you reach the 90-degree position with your elbow. While this involves using your shoulder external rotators for stability, you should be moving the resistance with your larger deltoid or shoulder muscle. Keep your shoulder blade packed back and down and chest up. Once comfortable going out to the side, then push straight up. Hand should always be over your elbow. Anytime your hand is outside of the elbow, it overly activates your shoulder rotators, which are weak muscles, and increases the risk of injury with repetition and load. Another redundant armpit or pec and lat stretch. Then I bring the band down, point my thumbs out, and attempt to gently raise my shoulders laterally to the side. Then I do a movement called scaption, which is raising my arms with thumbs up and externally out, and arms about 30 degrees to the right of my shoulder. I do a dead hang, relaxing my back, gently swinging my legs for another back and hip stretch while also stretching my lats and armpit. Then do scapular depression or anti-shrugs to wake up my lower trapezius. After, I do some pull-ups to see how it all feels. For pull-ups, I teach squeezing elbows in while packing shoulder blades back in ideally neutral grips over overhand or underhand, but sometimes you just have access to a straight bar like I do here, so I'm doing overhand. Stop when the elbow hits the chest, as rotating the elbow at the bottom to get your chin up uses your internal shoulder rotators, which are weaker muscles unless you are very advanced. This one is not necessary for clients and probably risky to do myself, but it puts me in the mindset of understanding where my vertical axis is for aerial rotations, which is an athletic movement done in ice skating jumps or in gymnastics. I need to focus on landing on the balls of my foot, since if I land with heel down, I'll roll an ankle or twist a knee here easily. I'm keeping my leg straight so most of the force is directed at my toe. I'll do something to wake up my pressing muscles, either a push-up or body weight dip, to make sure I'm activating them in coordination and bringing blood flow to the area before doing something heavier. At the end, I'll do another balance challenge since my shoulders and hands are ready. This is advanced and not required for clients. However, I'm being true to following through with the question of what do you do for stretching, mobility, and balance. A handstand challenges the same frontal and sagittal balance axis as a single leg balance, except it's upside down, so it gives different sensory feedback. The frontal and sagittal planes are the ones that cut you into front and back, or left or right. Earlier in the video, I also challenged my transverse balance axis with the bird dog and camel positions. The transverse plane cuts you into upper body and lower body and can be thought of as anything that involves twisting motions. After the handstand hold, I do a different handstand entry that is used in breakdance and is a prerequisite for some of the moves I'm working on but may never achieve. It's still fun to work towards them, though, even if I don't get them. And there you have it. I hope you can view this video as a buffet of ideas to add to your own mobility, balance, or flexibility routine. The goal is for you to feel ready to exercise with less fear of injury after warming up and activating your joints and balance system. This is something I've had to add to my own routine as an insurance policy against injury as I age and to maintain athleticism. While it seems long, I really enjoy doing this anytime I lift weights or to do something athletic, since it gives me confidence I'll get through things injury-free. I actually find it mentally grounding and relaxing. Feel free to share the link with anyone you know personally who may benefit.